Here we are going to have a discussion of Poorna Chandra Tejaswi's famous story titled The Golden Dream. It's written by Tejaswi, who is a prominent Kannada writer, novelist, photographer, naturalist, painter, environmentalist. Let's know about the story. This short story is a translation of Suvarna Swapna from Paka Kranti and has been translated from Kannada by Bhageshri. The story Golden Dream depicts the innocence, wonder, imagination, and curiosity of childhood and the strange, wonderful ways of nature. Now the story begins. So the main character of the story is here Ramesha. So according to the people of Huttur village, so there's a village called Huttur. Ramesh did not have father. He's brought up by his mother. She had some 4 or 6 acres of land in Huttur village. People of Huttur are somewhat disconnected. The village is not connected with any city. Since Huttur was surrounded by thick jungles and flanked by two streams on its right and left, it did not have any government road. Though people had lived there for generations, the village had not even been marked on the government map. The people of the village paid no tax or any levy, so it means to say there is no connectivity with the government with this village. The government would not sanction even a paltry coin to the village in its budget. No one went to the village even to ask for the votes. No politics was possible in that village of just 3 or 4 houses. So there are hardly 3 or 4 houses in this village. So there is no neta, there is no politician who is well connected with this village. So there were thick jungles for miles on both the sides of this highway. But for a few vehicles that occasionally piled on the road, not a single soul could be seen on that road. Means to say, you can see hardly few vehicles who cross this village, but you cannot see any human beings over there. Now, the character of the story, Ramesh, who has to go to school every day and he has to catch a bus from this bus stop. Ramesh had to wait there for his bus every day to reach his school, which was far away. It was a strange bus stop. How? People with weak hearts would never dare alone in that silent, forsaken place and wait for anything even for 10 minutes. It's so isolated that no one dares to stay here not more than for 10 minutes. The clouds that came floating from the direction of the sea first encountered the peaks of the hills around Huttur. They dashed against them, reeled round and round, and sank down to the valley of the Huttur. That is the nature of this village. That's the natural beauty, natural flora and fauna. So it was always cloudy and foggy along the highway. Buses and cars that traveled through this thick fog had to inch ahead, stumbling and groping with headlights on, even in the daytime. Now, in fact, people say many crimes have indeed taken place on this road. Smugglers from the coast, local smugglers who carry sandalwood to Kerala, and such others criminal activities used to happen on this road. There's a river flowing down the valley, some distance to the left of the road. Anyone who tries to catch those smugglers or any criminals can be finished off and thrown into the river. So the person who tries to catch those smugglers will not come alive. It is even said that murderers who found it suitable place to dispose of the bodies brought them there in cars and threw them down the steep cliff. So they throw the dead bodies from the top of the mountains. Recently, the military people had searched the valley for a helicopter which had suddenly disappeared after taking off from Bangalore. It is said that they had found several bones and skeletons at the bottom of the cliff. Now, Ramesh, who is waiting for the bus, once when Ramesh was waiting for the bus, he heard someone talking behind him. He turned back and saw some strange looking people with red mustache and hair wearing turbans coming down the Huttur road. They had with them donkeys carrying loads on their backs. Those Hindi speaking people must have been the wandering tribal. They sat near the rock on the other side of the road and talked for some time. Later, they got up one by one, took their loads, and left very reluctantly with the donkeys. People who came down the hill in a group, were now walking dispersed, each a furlong from the other. So all of them are moving down. He started at the huge boulder on the other side of the road in silence. When the fog cleared a bit, he could see that a couple of dogs and a few people were still around. Ramesh was not scared, as it was natural for anybody from Huttur. Why? People with weak hearts were never born there. If they did, they did not survive. So now, Ramesh, who is waiting for the bus at the bus stop, a woman who was standing near the rock came straight towards Ramesha. Why was she still there when all her people had left? He wondered. Maybe she had gone to the river to relieve herself, she thought. She stared at him for a long time and asked him a lot of questions, nonsensical questions, in her unintelligible Hindi. Ramesh only blinked at her because Ramesh doesn't know Hindi. Whatever got into her, seeing Ramesh standing alone in that deserted place, isolated place, she started telling him through gestures that she would remove wax from his ears. Ramesh refused impatiently, moving his head. Then, despite all his protest, she insisted on telling his fortune, took his hand and told him a lot of things in her language. Ramesh could not make out anything. She took out an oil bottle from a bag. She said that she would massage his head. Ramesha, who did not have any money with him except the bus charges, he showed his empty pocket to her. But she poured the oil, which she had a strange fragrance on his head and started massaging. She touched him all over under the pretext of massaging. So when she rubbed hard, shaking him up, he wondered if it was all a dream or the reality, completely at a loss as to how she would completely at a loss as to how he should face the situation amidst the smell of oil and the rubbing of his head. He wondered what he should do. Just then he heard the bus approaching. Ramesh waved at the bus and it stopped some distance away. He ran and got into it. The strange woman stood there with her two mongrels, a bag slung across her shoulder. This incident did not have any special significance in Ramesh's life. It was not the cause of his strange behavior either. As the fragrance of the oil slowly evaporated into the air, leaving no trace, the incident too was forgotten. So he has forgotten everything. Contrary to the suspicions of the people of Huttur, Ramesh's strange behavior was not the result of a spell cast by some girl in his class either. Then, was the magical ambience of the bus stand the reason? Now there's a question among all the villagers that what's the reason that Ramesh behavior was so strange? Now some strange activities took place. One day Ramesh, who was quite bored of waiting in the shade of the huge trees, wondering if the bus would stop at all, started staring at the boulder on the other side of the road. He suddenly asked himself why it would not be the back of an elephant. The boulder, he imagined that this boulder could become an could become the back of an elephant. He just imagined as he stared at the rock, letting his imagination run riot, a hidden faculty of his mind gradually came alive. Once he learnt the method of rejecting the cause and effect relationship of the physical world. The boulder opposite slowly started breathing and he could see it heaving. So his imagination is turning into reality. In the fog enveloped magical world, the trees started dancing to the tune of Ramesh's imagination, as if they were made of rubber. Like a ringmaster, he conducted the dancing. The bus did not come. It was the sound of an ambassador car. Sometimes people from the valley got tired of waiting for the bus and took a taxi. If other people waved, they would stop and take them along. Though it cost 10 paisa more than the bus fare, it was better than waiting for the bus. But when Ramesh signaled for the taxi to stop, it sped away. It didn't stop. The taxi had dark window panes, and he could not even see if there were people inside. As the car turned at the bend, Ramesha, who had heard that smugglers always had their car windows painted black, he thought its dicky must be full of gold biscuits. Imagination. It was becoming difficult for Ramesh to catch his bus. Some strange beggar woman rubbing his head had turned out quite like Aladdin rubbing the magic lamp. Now Ramesh goes back to the dream world. Ramesh tried to forget his newly mastered art. However much he tried, as soon as he reached the bus stand, the magic world of his mind drew him again to the dream world. As he started at the boulder opposite, he felt pulled to it like a drunkard to a bar. Couldn't the damn bus come immediately? It never did. While he rolled in his jam studded his dreams, it came and went off in a flash. Even the bus was also a dream. One dream did not have the patience to wait for the other dream to end. Ramesha waiting in a different bus stop, but none of the buses stopped there. If things had gone on like this, he perhaps have gone mad. Once, when Ramesh stood in the bus stop, the boulder opposite clapped. Surprised, Ramesh went near it, listened intently, wondering which cursed woman would emerge out of it. And he heard the claps again from inside the boulder. As he watched, the boulder that looked like the back of an elephant cracked. On the top of the boulder, right at the start of the crack, there was a banyan plant. Who knows? Who knows which bird's dropping had planted the banyan seed there? By some magic, it had sunk its roots into the rock and had even sprouted a few leaves. The boulder, which could not be shaken even by explosives, had suddenly cracked under the pressures of the roots as thin as hair. Its leaves, which played in the wind, looked at Ramesha and rolled with laughter. It would be crazy to connect this incident to Ramesha getting all right again, but after this, Ramesha missed his bus less often because he has come to know the difference between imagination and reality. This is how Poorna Chandra Tejaswi's famous story, The Golden Dream, brings out a difference between imagination and reality, and how do we come to know when we wake up from this imagination, then we start to wake down. When we start to wake, what is imagination and what is reality, just like Ramesha. Thank you so much for listening.